So Matthew begins, "And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple." Mark, "And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples says to him, 'Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here.'" Luke says, "And some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts." Matthew, Jesus went out. And as he went out of the temple. Or is he already out of the temple? I think I can have as he went out of the temple and departed. Or as he went out and departed from the temple. Yeah, that's what I could do. And from both Matthew and Mark. Mark as. And instead of just he, I'll actually put his name from Matthew. Jesus went out as both. Matthew and departed from the temple. Mark is just of the temple. Matthew and departed from. Matthew, Mark, and Luke only have the temple mentioned once. Oh no, look at that. Matthew has it twice. His disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. Well, since that's the case, okay, I will put it twice. That mention from Luke is the later mention. I'll combine that with Matthew. So this is just Matthew, Mark. So some spoke of the temple. One actually asked him, and in Matthew, his disciples came to him to show him the buildings. Luke goes first. Some of them spoke of it, how it was nice. All of them came to him. One actually spoke to him and said, "See what manner of stones, what buildings are here." No, that doesn't make any sense. All of them come to him, but only a few are speaking of the building. I think a few come to him to show him the buildings. And one of those actually says the question. That's how it needs to go. His disciples doesn't have to refer to all 12. Just some of his disciples came to show him the buildings. That could be the some mentioned in Luke. Some spoke of the temple. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Some. So this "and" I can actually make all three then, because I'm not going to use it from Luke. Also, the word "as" can be Mark and Luke, because I'm not going to need that either. Some of his disciples. Maybe I can have some of his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple, then go back to Luke and spoke of how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. And then I'll have the one actually asking the question. Although, I don't want to have to repeat the stones, because that seems unnecessary. I think I'm going to have to repeat stones. They're talking about how it was adorned with goodly stones. And one of them actually comments to Jesus, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. Yeah, I think I have to. Some spoke. But who are these some? They are his disciples. So I'll use the of, which I don't use from Mark. Some of, now Matthew, his disciples. You know what? I'm going to take his disciples from Mark as well. Because later, where it says one of his disciples says to him, Master, see what manner of stones. I don't need to repeat that he's one of the disciples, because clearly that's the group who's speaking of the temple. So one of them could be speaking to him. And Jesus said to them, so I could use that them. And Jesus answering said to him. Okay, that's better. I have to use him anyway, because it only says in Mark 1 was actually specifically asking Jesus or telling Jesus about the temple. So I use the them from Matthew to replace his disciples, which means I can use his disciples from Matthew and Mark here. Some of his disciples Matthew came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. Spoke of the temple. Oh, I know. Some spoke of how it was good, and came to him to show him the buildings. That's how it can go. Some of his disciples spoke of the temple. I think I can just save the mention of the temple from here, move right to how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. The temple was just mentioned earlier, and it will be mentioned again, so I think now we can infer that they're speaking about the same thing. Goodly stones and gifts, now from Matthew, and came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And this, the temple, I can use Matthew and Luke. Matthew goes right into Jesus speaking. Luke goes right into Jesus speaking. Mark has that one question. One of them from Matthew. Says to him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And as Jesus went out and departed from the temple, some of his disciples spoke of how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, and came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. I think it's pretty clear. They're leaving the temple. Some of his disciples spoke of it. It should be clear they're speaking about the temple, adorned with goodly stones and gifts. And then, in case you don't know, it's mentioned again. Came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple.